subscribe.
The Angry Ops Guy podcast, featuring Mike and Christina, pushing the ops machine forward no matter the grind. Real talk, real stories, and hard truths from two battle-tested pros.
Welcome back to the Angry Ops Guy podcast. Angry Ops Guy Mike here, and Christina's on some PTO with the family in the dead of summer. We've had a little bit of break to deal with ops stuff, but I have somebody special today. Somebody who is super attractive, super successful, my better half in operations. I told him not to wear pants today, and he is literally standing up on camera with no pants on. Everybody who doesn't listen to the podcast, Jack Porter Smith is finally here. I have slaughtered him in my songs. I have slaughtered him on WhatsApp. He has crawled back from a deathbed, and he is here as the very first guest of the Angry Ops Guy podcast. Jackie boy, you're here. How are you, buddy?
I mean, as far as introductions go, that was medium. You want to start again? Or?
Nope. Medium. Sexy, successful, attractive, no pants. What else do you want from me?
I'm just glad you could finally afford my appearance fee. So thank you for having me.
Well, nobody could afford your appearance fee. That's why you have no appearances anymore. You've priced yourself on the market, big guy.
I know. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Jackie boy, before anything, we don't get a chance to talk as much as we used to. Obviously, you know, our lives have gone different ways, both personal and life and career paths and whatever else. But I want to ask, first off, how are you doing? Because you had to exit WSI relatively quickly due to some really serious health stuff that you've been very open with on LinkedIn and with your peers and your WhatsApp groups and stuff of sharing really what's been going on with you. And you know, obviously, you're still navigating that. But how are you doing? And how is Jack today since the Jack that we have seen him, you know, when you were in full form, you know, about a year and a half ago?
Well, it's a tough one to even formulate an answer to be honest. Like, even as you know from our side chats, and yeah, it's spiritually, I'm good. You know, I feel optimistic about the future. I feel the benefits of not running a transatlantic, relatively big agency 24/7, but I'm still just sort of tidying up the loose ends of a fairly severe health crisis, I would say. So back on my feet, but not 100% yet.
Well, you look good, buddy, and know that there's a long road ahead of you still, but it is much better to see you sitting in a chair in your office at home than hearing stories about you being in a hospital bed. So nothing but best wishes for a continued recovery, knowing that, you know, there's many factors to that, and we'll leave it at that. So
Can
Jack,
I say something like straight, like
okay, go for it.
It's a bit weird with you being so nice.
Oh, we're less than 5 minutes in. Wait till I get to about the 22-minute mark, because I'm going to pull no punches with you. I'm going to kill you before the end of this podcast.
You're showing off to your 4 listeners, trying to pretend like you're a nice guy.
Whoa,
like, stop being nice.
And hold on a second. Just because me and you and Christina and probably Emily are the only 4, you're not allowed to attack me after all I've done on these podcasts through the first like 14 of them or however many we have is praise you. But you would know that because you haven't listened to anything except the first 2 or 3. So until, like convention a couple of years ago, where you make assumptions and get malicious, which we'll talk about later in our humorous segments, you're not allowed to make any assumptions, because if you listen to these podcasts, I have praised you to the nines. Like, people think that you pay me to praise as much as I do.
Okay. I take that back.
Thank you. Let's move on. So, Jackie boy, where I wanted to talk to you about, because like I said, ops life isn't your realm anymore. You needed to step away from that, and it was for the better of you, knowing that the focus had to be on your health and so forth. But I kind of would like to start with talking about ops, because obviously, you know, Angry Ops Guy, you know, where we met, where we grew up together for over 10 years is operations. You led a multi-million-dollar revenue agency and production center, and took it to levels of very small into, you know, even going externally into the public sector. So, you know, I'd like to ask you about, your reflections on operations, and what did Jack learn getting removed from operations and seeing the other side of the glass, or the, whatever else. Because I think you would, buddy, you would really agree with me on this. And we talk a lot about ops even to this day. I use you as a sounding board all the time, but
Yeah.
operations is a fucking grind, and you don't realize it till you get space away from it, because when you're in it, it's like the drum keeps beating, right? But when you're out of it, the calmness and the release and the just feeling like you got your brain and your body proportionally under you is so adamantly different. But with this much time away from it, and knowing that, we're going to talk about what you're doing now, which is, consultative work and so forth. But I would love to hear your reflections being removed from it versus being in the trenches with me like we were a few years ago.
Like you said, we were literally in the trenches for 10 years together, with an awful lot of shared clients and projects. And, when I think to the very early days, right, 2013, when I started it was just me, right? It was literally just me, and then a finance person, then eventually a project manager who I had to fire like almost instantly. So I've seen the kind of literal all-nighters. Like, I'm not kidding, like all night. And then one time it was all night, like building PPC campaigns, landing pages, billing, admin. And then I finished at like 5 a.m. and I had to go to the airport at like 7 and go to Paris and train like 100 of our colleagues from the European continent, then flew home that night, then carried on working, right? And obviously, over the 12 years, improved upon that situation by quite some margin. Uh, and I would attribute that to two things. Number one, finding friends to share the load, right? So you think about our two agencies, we shared the load according to our strengths over time, right? It wasn't like perfect overnight, but in the end, if there's anything CRM integration related, anything landing page building, anything SEO that like my clients needed, I brought them to you, right? And
Yes.
then you kind of half-assed it, and it was okay.
And that's why you're out of WSI paid 13 Toby ads,
Yeah.
because I screwed everything up.
Yeah. No, no, jokes aside, because everyone does need to know. No, no, seriously, everyone needs to know you are one of the professionals I respect most in the entire world. Like honestly, top three, maybe top two. So all that to say,
Who's ahead of me? If it's
me.
Denise Bowen, I'm going to lose my shit.
No, me. So
You
uh
egotistical prick.
so so it's two things, right? It was sharing the load with people I trusted. And, I'd far rather have 50% of the revenue and none of the stress with good outcomes than trying to keep everything in-house and it's just a disaster. And then, of course, the other component was just building out my own team. Now, the interesting thing for me is a very busy founder. Like I was good with my hands, right? Like I was a good PPC. That's why I started the agency. I didn't have an MBA in business, don't have a degree, never been to school since I was 15, um, had no prior experience of running a business. So over time, I built a team to do that for me because it was not my interest, right? So you, I think you have more interest in ops than I do. I did it because I had to for a period of time. Like there was literally no other option, but I literally have zero interest. Like workflows, automations, SOPs, integrations, project management, and all that shit, absolutely no interest. I recognize the necessary evil, but I hate it. Like I couldn't think of anything worse than spending 2 days redoing some sort of workflow, right? So pretty early, I would say within 5 years, I completely handed off ops in my agency to staff that had come through the ranks. I also recognized that had its downsides. Like maybe I handed off too much and wanted too little to do with it. But that was my journey. And then, of course, every founding agency owner gets sort of stuck in the weeds. And I would say should stay stuck in the weeds with like 3 to 5 clients in perpetuity, right? Because by year 12, like I was struggling to keep up with my team. I went from being like the best know-it-all guy on year one to I'm like, quick, can you give me a 5 minute debrief on this latest campaign type and tracking solution before the client call starts from my team members?
May I ask you
Uh,
just on that, just to interject, like in that reflection, is it a matter of the industry getting too fast and you not being as hands-on and tactical to keep up with it, or a product of your evolution into the role that you were, which was much more at the top, and we've talked about this before, right? Like the realization that you came in as an integrator, but you
yeah.
became almost a visionary within that space, which is a completely different set of skills. Like I am not a visionary. My
Yeah.
Peter's a visionary. You're definitely a visionary. I'm the guy that gets the work done. And I've tried to be a
Yes.
visionary in certain things, but I don't see 10 steps ahead past the trees like that. But you tell me, Mike, you got to get this done. I get it done. But like, what was it for you that kind of changed that? Was it, again, like the speed of the industry and just it's moving at the speed of light, or just your focus had to change as the agency and the production center got quite larger in the grand scheme of what you were running?
Yeah. In fact, I meant to tell you off for that earlier because you said it was a multi-million dollar agency. It was a multi-million dollar net profit agency. So just
Oh,
small technicality.
excuse me. As
Your
everybody wants
question,
to know, Jack's adjusting the championship belt that he has behind him in his office. So sorry, everybody, my mistake.
in seriousness, it really stemmed from my passion changing,
Ah,
right? The first 5 years, I identified as a PPC. If you ask me, anyone ask me, what do you do? I'm a PPC guy, right? And then I realized I had to try and run a business instead of being a PPC. And I realized I hated running a business, right? Like just all the chaos, the admin, the ops, the systems, the legal,
it's exhausting,
HR.
eh?
Yeah, it's horrible, right?
It's
And
horrible.
and and so I found myself in this horrible middle ground where I'm running a business that I used to love the subject matter. I don't get any chance to just geek out over that anymore and do what I was originally good at. I'm just dealing with problems 24/7. And so it finally clicked that I'm gonna like burn out and fall out, fail unless I design the role that I want, that I need. And that's sort of when I accidentally discovered my new passions of like public speaking and running EOS for the agency. So I'm actually running it to a system instead of just putting out fires in writing books. And that's when I've met a new friend called Romans over the last year or two, and he calls it your zone of genius, where like every founder has something they are supremely good at, but they either fail to identify it or fail to give it the time and space it needs to be beneficial to the agency. So I eventually realized through kind of just fumbling around that I was good at public speaking. And as you know, I then, eventually went off on a tour of the Americas with Google and did countless events and conferences, and that alone is what saved my soul, right? Because it lit me up again. It gave me a new skill to master. It introduced me to new people, new cities, new everything, right? But then B, it exploded the agency's growth because I was enjoying myself and was doing it, to a high level. So, all this circles back to your question of, how do you feel now being completely, out of agency land? Uh, there's an awful lot I don't miss.
Yeah.
That all I miss is my people. I honestly like we, in the WSI network, obviously the collection of hundreds of agencies, we met up at least a few times a year in person, regional events, major events, just small office visits, even the weekly open forums, as silly as they sound, like once you don't have any of it, you just feel just like you've been, I don't know, like a piece of Lego just picked up and then thrown across a pond. You're out. And I've really struggled with that. Like I've missed my team, I've missed people like you. Um, but I would say the things I don't miss outweigh that. Uh,
Yep.
how many mornings have we come in on a Monday at 9 a.m. or say we're at a conference together in Dominican Republic or Mexico or wherever, open your laptop at like 8 a.m. and there's a dumpster fire of emails from clients. Oh my God, there's no leads in Salesforce. Oh no, why is this? What's happened here? Why is this down? Why is this broken? We spent too much here. Like ultimately, and no matter how good you are, that happens. Right? I just want to say that because like we're good at what we do, or we were good at what we did together.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter. Like technology breaks, clients
Yep.
break stuff, external factors, whatever. Team members make mistakes. We're humans. I can honestly say that sinking feeling of opening your laptop and reloading the inbox, I have not experienced that for a year and a half.
So funny you highlight that. Like, it doesn't matter how severe the issue is. It's the when do I open the app or my inbox and hope that things are not burning because it's 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
And who is screaming at me now compared to whatever else. Like, you couldn't hit it on the nail, man. That is the biggest pressure valve right here in your chest
yeah,
of just, can I just work today and can I just help people today versus, again, somebody's pouring gasoline, cackling with a box of matches. And you're right, though, the technology pieces, everybody thinks just because we have technology, it's maximum uptime. It's like these connections, these integrations, and break all the time. But also, I think you would agree because you dealt with some very impressive large scale paid advertising accounts. It's certainly one with me. I know of another one with another mutual colleague and friend that we're talking massive money going towards advertising to produce conversion or transactional revenue. And when you get to those scales of six-figure media spends, um, it's just amplified, right? Because there's so much more to keep an eye on. There's so much more to make sure that
yeah,
this system talks to this system and this reporting didn't break. And why is Meta suspended this? And why is Google said no to that? And it's just like, what the hell?
yeah. And it's never just one, and it's never just you, right? It doesn't just ruin your morning. Like all of a sudden, so I see it first because I'm in the UK sometimes, right? So I've seen it
Yeah.
first at like 7 o'clock my time. So then all of a sudden, I'm pinging Scott. I'm pinging you over in Canada. I'm pinging whoever, left, right, and center. Like, what's broken with the CRM? Is it an ad platform issue? Is it a credit card issue? It suddenly ruins like five different people's morning,
Yes.
just scrambling to solve a problem that nine times out of 10 wasn't even your fault. So, but the interesting thing is, we're both thinking about a client we can't name, right? So let's just use that example in our heads.
Sure.
Large scale, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in spend, tens of thousands of leads. And we care, right? We care an awful lot. We loved them and did everything we could to help them. But since I've been removed, right, this is the interesting thing. So let's say this client is a $100 million a year business with very healthy profit margins. Owners have multiple Rolls Royces and mansions. I realized since I've been out, none of it really matters.
It's funny how that works, eh?
So you wake up at 7 a.m. Oh my God, there's no leads in Salesforce. What's happened? And usually it's something we can fix, right? It's just
Yeah.
there's a connection break. We upload 10,000 leads and everything's fine. But since being out on reflection, I'm like, okay, so the sales team maybe had to wait 2 hours to get their leads that morning. And let's say even if the campaigns did just fail, like Google banned them, Meta banned them, whatever that day, I think this $100 million business will be okay. Like if they have to sell a Rolls Royce or just sell a few less buildings that week, like you know what I mean? Like in the scale of things, they'll be okay. But in the isolation of the moment, it's highly stressful.
Yes.
And then of course I've had chats with you. I won't divulge anything, but obviously we've both been in the trenches a long time as trusted confidants. But since I've been out and you're still in, you've been sending me voice notes or texts or emails like, oh, I'm
Please keep those
struggling with
private because I could probably lose my employment.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like I'm struggling with this or that, or this is on my mind. And I'm messaging you back saying, like, dude, like, if you're alive, shut up.
Let me set some context just for who chooses to listen to this and will may not understand what that means is, you know, that comes based that reflection is not necessarily you being out of agency life. That is based on what you went through earlier this year where you're literally like one step in ICU trying to survive and between surgery and pain and everything else. And my point being is it's like everybody knows that when health impacts our life, your priorities or your focus shifts. But you're right, is like you know, the darkest place, if you will, of I can't even do the basic things like pick my son up and go on a date with my wife and, sit up in a chair versus lying down in a bed or, again, I'm just generalizing, but that's what we mean by shut up. It's not important, or it's not meant to be mean, not meant to be crass. But it's such a blunt but well received statement of saying, I have a different perspective, but in the sense of life, does it
Yeah.
really matter?
Yeah.
Because all I can see is here's the fence and here's the fire, and that's the kind of the reality check from you coming back saying like you might be stressed today, you may feel like the world's falling in, but I've seen a whole other side where I I can't do those things that you just shared. That's what's really important in life, and so much so, like I've said on the podcast and with others, and you've heard it. My Peter, our buddy Peter J, always says with his kind of smirk and Polish swagger, he's like, Mike, he goes, we're not doing open heart surgery. And as I get older, you get it and you respect it and you understand the wisdom that comes. He's not saying that to push off the pressures and stress that you're paid to do. What he's saying is like what's really important in the grand scheme of things. And that's also where you're coming from. And you have real life examples of that. Because again, without your health, yeah, there is no operational leader. There is nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like again, our agencies are important, and especially if you serve clients with good causes and good people and it feeds their families, like don't yeah, it's all important. It serves a role in the ecosystem of the capitalist West that we live in. But as far as you allow it to invade your mind
Yes.
and your personal health and your personal happiness and your stress, like when I was on the operating table in February, the second time. The first time was not great. The second time was very bad, right? And like I had to send a video home in case I didn't wake up. And I can promise you, like this is the ultimate acid test, how I know I'm speaking the truth. Because
Hmm.
when I was lying on that table, like literally waiting to get knocked out to have that life-saving surgery, I wasn't thinking about my agency,
Certainly.
right? And none of it mattered. The awards, the revenues, the profits, even the team. I'll go as far as to say the team, even though I loved them and still love them, the clients, the suppliers, none of it mattered because all I was thinking about was my wife and son
Yep.
and trying to stay alive. And so, yes, when you've in some ways had the privilege of going through something like that, if you can make it to tell the story and sort of change your mindset once you've survived, is it has given me this context of like in the rest of my life, the rest of my career, whatever I do, career 2.0, the things that used to keep me up at night, ruin my weekend, say a client sends a cancellation email at 4 p.m. or an employee resigns at 5 p.m. or whatever, I will just never care about it to that extent again. It will never invade my peace again. But I think that is an extremely hard thing for 99 out of 100 agency founders and leaders to do if they haven't actually been through it. Because you could say the same logic about anything. Like, look at poor children and civilians in Gaza. Like you think your day's bad, you think you had a hard day. Like, just look at the pictures. And not to turn this into political, but it's always just to say anywhere in the world, someone is having a worse day than you are, guaranteed.
Yes. Well said.
But that's logic. But once you've been through it, you can actually truly apply the logic. So it's difficult. So that would just be my message to any agency leader or founder is just try not to let it consume you. Because on a scheme of things, if you're drawing breath, if you have a good home life, and you're taking home some pay, you know, it doesn't matter that much.
On that first point of, going back to health and exit and reflection of operations and stuff, you're very wise past your years, and it's unfortunate some of that reality comes with health concerns that needed your focus and energy and so forth. But like you said, it's, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And it's a matter of understanding what priority and focus is. And like you said, we all naturally get lost, right? It's you're focused on what's in front of your face. We're focused on what needs to be done today, and oh my God, or validation or acceptance or affirmation or whatever. And it when we say it, you said it's not that it doesn't matter, but what's really important. And again, as long as somebody's not bleeding out on the operating table, God forbid, we can fix integrations, we can fix marketing strategies, we can fix errors on a website. But also, Jack, I think you would agree that, again, if you want to say circa 2013 compared to when you left late 2023, 24, digital marketing changed. It's gotten very, very reactionary, no matter the size and scale of the budget, patience of people, trust of people. So we've had to change into almost order takers, almost quick responses. And we've had clients like that where you almost feel like you're on an instant message all day in email with them because that's how they feel their campaign has to be run and so forth. So you got to establish boundaries. You got to know when to turn it off. You got to know when to pick your battles. And also, like, I love what you said as well, is just like, don't allow it to consume you. And that's a whole other podcast because I've been very candid with you about how in past years I let it consume me and for different health reasons. And some of those I still battle today. And I'm talking on
Yeah.
the mental side of just wanting to always put the customer first and your team first and your employer first, but at what cost? And I'm still learning it like everybody else, and I'm learning from you, knowing the severity of your health challenges, and how you've had to course correct very quickly from the speed that you were running when I last worked directly with you. So,
Yeah.
let's shift gears a little bit because you mentioned something also that I just think is super important. In talking about you, um, is you mentioned earlier about, moving away from tactical PPC and being the geek on it, and then you kind of evolved into whether it was seminars and speaking engagements. And, I have said to anybody who would listen to me, which is nobody, that I've always thought, and this is a sincere compliment, is you are one of the best public speakers that I have had the luxury of seeing multiple times on a grand stage. Now, I've not seen you in a PPC centric, webinar in Europe or, United States or something like that. But I have seen you at the pinnacle of WSI in some very large auditoriums as a keynote speaker for our conventions and some other things. And like, dude, even though you'll roll your eyes at me, inside you love me stroking your ego, but you have the gift of gab and you can command an audience, whether it's 1,000 people or 10 people. Like that is something that I've always admired about you. Why I set it up like that and where my question is going is public speaking to grow your business, because that's ultimately a major breakthrough that you and Heidi Schwendy, your partner at that time, in the sales aspect and sales and business development of Utopia slash WSI paid search, you guys really moved to the market to get these people. And by speaking from selling from the stage, and speaking engagements really fueled your prospecting and getting viable new clients to in the sense of what you could offer. Talk to me about that public speaking and talk to me about, the importance of it and what it did for you, and how it can also be relatable to other ICs and agencies that maybe aren't as confident with that, but what it did to allow that spark of filling the hopper, but also building further networks and connections and other things like that.
It's a topic I have a lot of passion for. And the interesting thing is, okay, I speak to a lot of agency leaders and owners, and whenever it comes up, like, how did, literally 50% of every agency leader you speak to, they'll tell you one of their top three issues is lead generation, right? So the question always comes up, well, like, how are you getting your leads, or how did you get your leads? So whenever I answer public speaking, putting on my own events or speaking at other people's events, they automatically, instantaneously think of 19 reasons that, hey, great for you. That's good for you, Jack, but I couldn't do it instantly. Like, even if I told you, you could go and do it, you come up with three objections straight away, right? And that's something that I'm literally not promoting in my book. I don't even have a copy of it with me, but it's something, as you know, I've written a book on, and I believe anyone can do it. I believe with my framework, with the right mindset, and with an awful lot of patience and willingness to be brave, anyone can do what I did. I think the only thing that separates me from the other 99 out of 100 who don't do it is belief. And for some reason, I've just always had a absurd level of self-belief. Like I just,
Is that something that even in the early days you
yeah,
had as well, or
yeah,
something,
yeah.
let's say mid in your agency life, you're just like, shit, I'm pretty good at this, and let's capitalize on this or whatever else.
No, because here's the thing. I had zero fear coming to Canada and starting my agency. Genuinely zero fear. Completely naive 23-year-old. And, I say it all the time. You ask anyone who saw me at our launch in August 2013 in Toronto. I was on main stage to like 400 other agencies, whatever. And I was so naive, terrible public speaker, terrible content. Everything about it was as bad as it could be. But I just knew I could get better. And I did it, you know, I went to Mississippi and spoke to four people from the UK.
Four four people in
Yeah,
Mississippi.
yeah. With Burns Smith in Mississippi.
No,
I don't
I
know.
have
I don't know
not
if he's
been.
retired now. Oh, but Burns invited me to this conference thing, and I just took any chance I could get to speak. And the really important difference is the first 2013 to 2018. So the first 5 years, I was never selling. I was
Oh,
educating, training, inspiring, motivating, whatever. Because the game does really, really change when you add a pitch to the end of your keynote. And furthermore, if it's your own event. Okay, because that like 20x is the pressure on you. Like if you fumble the last 5 minutes, you've just burned 30 grand or potentially more, depending what you've done, and it's all been a waste of time. So that was my training ground. And, just at least once a month for 5 years, speaking somewhere, anywhere in the world. And then one day, I literally accidentally stumbled into a public speaking workshop. There was one going on in the office. I sort of stuck my head in and said, "Oh, like, can I take part? This seems interesting." So it's just a one-day thing. An expert facilitator was talking about body language, structuring stories, um, breathing, eye contact, you name it, right? Just the whole gambit. And there were like 20, 30 people in there. We all did the exercises all day. And at the end of the day, I didn't know we were being graded. I had no idea. But she
ah,
said at the very end, she was like, number three is Gordy, number two is Abby, whatever. And I won. I was first. And she said, "You're bordering on mastery. You just have a nervous tick." I had no idea. For 5 years, I've been doing this with my hand down by my side.
really?
Yeah, and she recorded it and showed me. And I was
I
like,
always
okay.
thought you were just playing on the inside of your pocket with your pants.
That's all it needs. Right?
That's all you need is just those two
Yeah.
fingers.
So that was my confidence change. That's when I realized, oh, maybe I could like stop being passive with this and start using it to grow my agency, right? So,
Nice. Do you
long
have
story.
do you no, I just want to do you have and again, I know your recovery, and everything you do moving forward will be proportionate to how you feel and what you can exert. And I know that you're slow to roll that out, because what you've learned in the last year and a half being out is when you try to push a little bit too hard or stress levels go up, that's when your body starts to attack you. So is public speaking something still, as you get older and again away from agency life, that you aspire to want to do again, or is it a nice tool to have in your kit when the opportunity is there, but again, other aspirations you have are going to take focus? Have you thought about that at all? Just being that you have such a great track record of commanding that audience, do you want to get back on stage?
You have to be careful why you want to do things. Okay. So when a lot of the stuff you saw me do, the purpose was explicitly to grow my agency, right? Like it's very obvious. Like I would go to LA, 300 people in the room, convert more than half of them to a consultation and convert a bunch of those into paying clients, right? So the motivating purpose behind that decision was clear. Obviously, the trouble is over many years, that schedule and sort of craziness took its toll on my health, and I sort of put myself second, and that's how I ended up where I ended up. So I just have to be very clear where and why I would speak again.
Okay.
For example, if there was the most niche random event in the world, say it was an agency conference, and one of the topics from day one was health, and they were like, hey, we need a speaker to speak about not killing yourself to grow your agency, I'd be like, you know what, that's a good opportunity to go and share my story. But I'm not going to like do it randomly just to be busy or for ego or vanity. Because that's the thing, right? It's go to any industry conference these days. The agenda is stuffed full. And I know I sound elitist saying this, and I don't really care if I do. It is stuffed full of absolutely terrible speakers.
Agreed.
The only reason these people are on stage is to take their Instagram picture, brag about it on LinkedIn. And and for me, I was never about that. I was punching my audience in the face to make a difference, to help. Um, so I'll do it here and there. It's still something I get a kick out of, and if it's an audience that really resonates and I can help, yes. But I'm never going to do like a crazy tour again.
No, and especially with how much traveling you were doing and so forth.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
we were younger and there was less responsibility and obligation at home in past
Yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah, of course. As you say, like, I've got a 3.5-year-old boy now. I've got health issues. It's just a different ballgame. But all that to say, I endorse it as a business growth technique, 3 million%, as the number one agency growth technique.
Number one,
You
eh?
know,
You
yeah,
feel strongly
honestly,
about that.
I feel I'm 100% certain we would not have gotten to seven-figure annual net profits without it. Referrals are great, running your own campaigns are great, going to networking is great, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, there is honestly no other way. I used to do 3 events a week, right? So I go to San Francisco Monday, LA Wednesday, Austin, Texas Friday, right? And then I'd fly home. So each of those events, say 1 to 300 people, convert half the room to a consult. I would genuinely be leaving 3 or 4 days of speaking with multiple hundred leads, right? And
Wow.
bookings. Tell me another way to do that.
No kidding.
And that was just me, Uzi, right? My number one director and employee, and a guest speaker, right? So just like 3 people sharing a stage for half a day. And so I endorse it 3 million%. I know there will be objections and reasons you think you can't do it. All I can tell you is if you want to overcome them, you can. And it's a lot of fun.
And on that note, one thing I'll tell you, because like I said, you are proportionately removed from the network now is, with the increasing evolution of AI at the speed of light, numerous high tenured ICs have really adopted adopting AI speaking engagements and getting in front of rooms because again, it's such a subject matter that is so unknown and scared and everything else. And numerous people that you and I both know, Andreas in Georgia out of California, Andreas is doing a ton of speaking. I know a couple others, and I would always name drop just out of respect them, but they're really kind of, I don't want to say biting into what you started in those days, but they've taken it based on the new subject matter and the new focus of how to get in front of people. And they're showing very good returns, and not only in the sense
Yeah.
of speaking fees, but also opportunity. And so, to your point, it kind of further cements your thought process of, like you said, is you just said about the number one kind of initiative for helping get a good stack of leads versus dumping it in paid advertising and hoping to
Yeah.
help. Imagine the amount of money as digital marketers we'd have to spend trying to get digital marketing leads on AdWords.
Ironically, right? But here's the thing, right? You've done some speaking here and there as well. And I'm so happy to see, like you said, Ryan, Andreas, the Pilarskis, like so many of them, Gunnar, like so many of them, I would say it's probably their number one technique now for generating, PR connections,
Oh,
networking
Gunner,
with,
big time. Gunner, big
um,
time. Peter Pilar's, can't believe I forgot him with Christina being on the pod. Yeah, Peter's been on the speaking push for, I want to say,
yeah,
at least 2 years now, as I've gotten more to know him and Christina. Like, yeah, and these
yeah,
guys are going, to your point, like you're doing. Yeah, you were cross international, whatever that world what that's called, but like they are moving around North America doing what they do and commanding a lot of respect around it. So definitely a tidbit for people listening that, if you want to further, command an audience, work on filling the hopper, based on the subject matter expertise you have. Speaking from the stage and commanding the room and getting the right type of people in front of you is definitely a viable tactic. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of
And
good
hey,
assets in the WSI network with Jackie Boy and speaking engagements from past years.
and I'll tell you something, right? Just because people might be, we haven't really said how you do it, right? We've just talked about it. So we'll give a little bit of meat on the bones for 2 seconds.
Sure.
All it is stories and solutions.
Stories and solutions.
So you have whatever topic you want, the 10 blocks to advertising greatness, the 10 steps to SEO greatness. Whatever it is, it's just a numerical system to the thing that you want. That's your keynote. And then you formulate, the subject matter of the event around that and the promotional materials. So I always like blocks because it speaks about something that's in your way, but is not insurmountable. And it's also not something that's your fault, even if it is, right? So when I did the 10 blocks for advertising greatness, there was a lot. Well, there's 10, right? You don't know your ROI, you're advertising, but you're not marketing, you got the wrong team, you're buried in bureaucracy, whatever it might be. And so my job was always just to point out the block and say, hey, this is the reason, like you could be doing everything else great, but if your team is horseshit, you're not going to get results. Or if you're doing everything else great and you've got a great team, but you're advertising, but you're not marketing because you haven't done all your fundamentals, like your CRM, your content, your website, your attribution, blah, 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 you're not going to, have success. So it was a great way to become peers. I was their peer on the stage. I wasn't lecturing them. I wasn't blaming them. I was saying, like, I know, 80% of you, this applies to you from polling audiences. And then I would just tell a story about how to make it relatable to them, client XYZ, or sometimes I went off on ridiculous tangents about like Leonardo da Vinci. And then I just gave the solution 10 times. It's just 10 stories, 10 solutions, and a pitch. But here's the thing. This is called the Angry Ops Guy. So I do want to bring it back to a relevant ops thing for you. It's not just about the fun or how many leads you can generate or anything like that. It is the best possible quality of client. Lead comes in on your website. Lead comes in from a cold email campaign. Lead comes in even from a referral from BNI. They are all to an extent colder than someone who spent half a day with you, right? So,
Yes.
so I got to the point where I wouldn't even talk to a lead unless they'd read the book because we always gave away a book. I gave this Advertising Greatness book to everyone who attended that keynote, right? So I wouldn't talk to them in the sales process unless they'd been to an event and read the book. And so this positioned us, obviously as deep experts that they looked up to and trusted. And it completely turned the table. I was like, hey, like you want to talk to me, and I'm qualifying you and disqualifying you and making you jump through hoops just to prove you're serious, that you're bought into our philosophy. So these deals basically closed themselves, and they would follow our onboarding process. They would not argue over our payment terms. They would do their homework and deliver, things we've asked of them. They would stick for way longer than clients from like cold email or whatever other ways agencies get clients. They would increase their budgets, right? I did the maths once. I shared it with everyone in WSI and I think the Dominican.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, our average client value monthly was double from acquiring them from events versus anywhere else, any other sources put together. Their lifetime value and duration was also drastically longer. So you speak of angry ops guys and like ways to make our lives easier as agency owners is get people queuing up to work with you. Like stop chasing your tail and buying leads and this, that, and the other techniques because we're in this era of founder-led branding for agencies, right? I mean, I think that came just as I was on my way out, sadly. I mean, I was accidentally doing it through public speaking and writing books anyway, but like I never did the LinkedIn thing. Now, like every second agency leader posts twice a day on LinkedIn and is building a personal brand and launching a podcast and whatever else it might be, because we are in that age, and that's great. But the ultimate flex is having your own events, having people at them, reading your books, and then lining up to work with your agency. They make better clients, and at the end
Well,
of the day, that makes easier
and on
ops.
that, one thing that struck me when you were saying that is like you talk about how a lead comes in, whether it's inbound through a form fill, outbound cold, or a referral. There's only so much trust with how they've gotten to you, right? They've seen something that tickled them enough, Jack said Mike's a good guy, so that carries a little bit of weight. But to your point, like if you spent half a day, they've sat through a 2 hour keynote or whatever, you're building trust and reputation even before you sell them something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say eating out of your hand, but it is because you have commanded their attention and focus to drive trust and value even before talking about what their pain or objectives are. And you can't get that from a form fill, right? And so to your point, it's like you're building that relationship from the stage.
Yeah.
And then they're sitting there, how fast can I get to talk to Jack about what we can do together as strategic partners? So,
Yeah.
you know, like I said, where are you going to get that amount of time with a customer, or how often will you give a prospect that much time unless they're going to sign what you're going to do, right? Because we've been taught through Sandler and other things, like it's got to be systematic and efficient and whatever. But like you said, you basically had, 3 hours to sell yourself versus 30-minute cup of coffee.
Yeah. And you've done it too, right? Like I've seen you once or twice in action. I'm sure you've done more since I've been out the game.
No,
Like, okay, so all right, well, do more, idiot. Um,
I can't
how
do
did
anything without you, Jackie boy.
well, okay, but in all seriousness, take Dominican 2023, I think.
I remember Dominican. I got a story for after you finish off whatever you're
Yeah,
talking.
well, I wasn't going there, but
I am.
your workshop,
Oh, fuck.
whatever it was, ops, something or the
Exactly.
other. No, it's just not my interest, but I still came and supported you, right? But the point is, you presented to 150 or so peers in the agency space, right? And your agency shares clients with other agencies. So tell us how that made you feel, how it affected your confidence, the conversations it led to. And I'm doing this to convince the other people listening to do it.
Sure. Well, that one in Dominican, the educational track around ops and client onboarding and whatever it was, what was certainly scary. Like I'm not afraid of public speaking. I am nowhere near at your level of sitting on a stage like that. I haven't been on a stage with a big spotlight, but that particular room, yeah, there was a very good crowd. But what it did for confidence was ultimately, like you said, is like you think you're shit or you think you're fumbling or whatever, but what I learned out of that is it's like if you can convey confidence and you know your subject matter versus generating it or somebody feeding it to, but you know your shit. It
Yeah.
doesn't even matter if you know what's on the slides, but if you know what you're talking, it comes through in passion and energy, and that's what creates confidence. Confidence in how you put it out, but confidence in how people receive it. So the confidence thing was big in saying, like, I do know what I talk about. Okay,
Is there an issue? Is
take
there
a
an issue?
pause. Take a pause because what everybody doesn't know, because Jack hasn't figured out yet, because again he doesn't listen to the first 12 episodes of the podcast, is that we don't use video a lot, if not ever. But while Jack asked me a question there to talk honestly, and I'm trying to give a proper answer, he slid a piece of paper into screen that he's been drawing a big middle finger that says "F you" to me. So this is exactly the dynamic of me and Jack. Like we're trying to be serious, and I'm trying to give him his rub, and now he's trying to give me and he just literally hit me in the nuts with an FU.
I was testing your composure with an audience distraction,
No,
and you
because
and
I'm
you
a
failed.
child, and you know that
Yeah.
because half the stuff I say to you in our WhatsApp, I should go to jail for.
Well, true. I mean, it took you about 30 seconds to sexually harass me in this podcast.
Yeah, well, excuse me. Do you want me to start saying sharing some of the things you share with me about, your body and what you want to show me? So come on.
Let's get back to your answer.
Let's get
How,
back on point about my
yeah,
awesome
how
thing
did
from
you feel?
2023 that
What,
nobody gives a shit about.
yeah, what did it do for your relationships and
I
connections
think what
and
it
future
did, I think
prospects?
what it did, that was such a pivotal convention, but a pivotal moment or 2 hours for me because I've always been a background guy. And obviously Peter's our leader and front facing. Everybody's known Peter for Christ 25 years kind of thing. But what it did was I think it allowed people to see that, you know, eh, what am I trying to say? Like just they saw me, they saw what I can bring to the table. Um, and I think what it does is it further enhances respect and trust. Just like I said about you with the people invested for 2 hours, 3 hours, half a day with your keynote or sessions. This guy knows what he's talking about, and so not only are my shoulders back, not in bravado, but feeling good that people are driving to me with questions or this stuff's going to change my agency if I adopt some of these principles and whatnot. And I think what it also does with that is it it allows you to be a trusted voice to your peers. And that's what I think is the biggest thing that came out of that. And I was just so, and again, who doesn't like, and not praise, but who doesn't like positive reinforcement coming back saying, like, people are buzzing about your presentation. People are buzzing about your keynote. Like, I'm still buzzing about your presentation in Dominican. You go, you're nuts. But I remember it. And people still come to me 2 years later saying that was a great education track. And that's the reward. It's not the pat on the back. It's not head office saying, good job, Mike. Nothing like that. But it's just knowing that something stuck with somebody in this world. Because going back to what you said, there is so many people that say they're a speaker or whether they ask for a fee and then they get up there and you're like, oh my God. And if you cannot keep somebody's attention, and I think that's the biggest thing as a speaker, if you can see the room, which again, spotlight people can't because all you can see is the heat coming off the lamps. But if you can see the room, what you've got to be able to do while talking and trying to figure out where you're going within your timelines is you got to be looking at eyes and I got to be looking at body. Like, are they engaged? Are they writing notes? Are their hands up? Are they taking photos of what's on the slides? Because if you know that your audience is engaged, then no subject matter is boring. But it's your job to take that subject matter and, like you said, whether it's stories into solutions, whether it's practical into reality, that's the stuff that's going to make people say, one, I want more. And two, you're going to know you're onto something. And then that creative juice continues to flow, saying, I can do this in various formats and various subject matters versus
Yeah.
the little silo that I thought I was good at.
So I'm hearing a lot of positive, outcomes from ultimately 2 hours of your life plus, practice and prep, right?
Mm.
And you're still talking about that 2 years later, rightly, because it was good. And this is my point: is every agency leader needs to do more of it. Why haven't you done 5 more since then? Because you haven't prioritized it. And I know I
True.
sound like I'm beating you up, but it's
No, no,
everyone,
no, but you're right. I
right?
haven't prioritized it based on responsibility and other focuses and so forth. But you're right. It's a matter of focusing and prioritizing on it for the benefit of the agency, the
Yeah.
benefit
And
of
hey,
networking.
let me say, you've lost a little bit of weight now too, so it'll be less
Oh,
embarrassing going on stage.
thank you.
So
Well, that's why they didn't have me on the big stage in Dominican, is they were afraid that it wasn't reinforced. So they put me on flat ground in the other
yeah,
room, knowing that the
yeah,
concrete couldn't buckle under my weight.
but let me, if
You
I may,
asshole.
yeah, well, I want to zero in on peer support,
Okay.
okay? Because what we're talking about, everyone else might not know. So that one we're talking about that Mike did, an ops masterclass, was like 2 hours to 150 other agency owners. It wasn't pitches to like HVAC companies and end clients.
Yes. Yeah.
What I did was mostly end client stuff. But there's equal value in presenting to your peers and going to roundtables with your peers because in this life, in this agency ops life, agency leadership life, I would say absolutely nothing matters more than peer support. And we had the blessing of being in a collective of, I don't even know how many hundred, I think it was 1,000 at one point, agencies who did not see each other as competition.
Correct.
We were friends, and in some cases, best friends,
Yeah.
and genuine love for each other. And so when you do these, sharing at true value at an industry event, whether that's on a stage, in a breakout session, facilitating a roundtable, on a panel, you gain that peer support. And what do peers do for each other? I'm here for you at 3 in the morning if you're freaking out about a team member. Someone else is sending leads to you. Someone else wants to start a podcast with you. Someone else is fixing something that's broken for you that you don't have the in-house capabilities just to help you, right? And telling people to read your books and whatever it might be, supporting your LinkedIn posts, even just popping by with a comment every now and
Yep.
and that, earlier I spoke about like walking out of an event with 100 leads, great. But actually, like the true value in putting yourself out there and doing founder or leader branding as an agency leader that is doing this alone is suicidal.
Yes.
It's horrible. It's dark. But if we can support each other, it makes everything worth it. And whatever that saying is, rising tides lift all boats or something like that. So anyway,
By the
passionate
way, did you
speech.
draw that whole hand with the middle finger up while we've been talking?
Yeah, it's actually on a Kleenex. Yeah, I was so bored while you were waffling about something.
Yeah,
But
praising you about everything and hoping that you're okay.
yeah, I mean, honestly, like you're still working on finishing a point you started in 2022, I think. So I just amuse myself
Okay,
while
so
you're
I'm going to
talking.
change it up now because I'm getting tired of you. So now it's time to
Okay.
get into funny story time because we're going to put a pin on Dominican 2023. We got to have, but the one thing about you and I is, and I always like to inject humor where I think where it's warranted, is because we have a very similar sense of humor, different sense of humor, but we have found a way over the 10 plus years that we've known each other, and I do classify and call you one of my best friends. Is we make each other laugh, and the stupidity and the immaturity that we can bring today was like, what did I say to you? Like even yesterday, how the fuck anybody trusted me to run an agency is beyond me. You're like, I wouldn't. Like all he says back to me yesterday, one comment, I wouldn't. Period.
Yeah.
But the humor is what I keep coming back for. And so let me tell you a story. So, many people that may listen know about that convention, others don't. But so Jackie Boy here has got the keynote. Now, to set this up, okay, because and inject at any time because I want your perspective because that's what actually makes this funny is how you chose to go. But how to set this up is in my presentation, I knew Jack had the keynote the same day, later in the day, or the next day, doesn't matter. But I had my first slides like I'm Mike, and here's a photo of me from 15 years ago when I was thin and not emotionally fragile, and I actually had some mental health, and a couple points about me, how long I've been in the agency, and then the last bullet point was I hate Jack Porter Smith, and I did it on purpose because how do you get the room that's tired at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, listening to ops, laughing? I like to make people laugh, even if it's at my misfortune, and I took that liberty. The funny part about this is the room gasped right away, like, and I'm like, settle down, everybody. Jackie Boy's like my best buddy, and I love him, and I'm just trying to make you laugh. Now, what Jack didn't realize is Jack chose not to show up at the beginning of the presentation. Jack chose to come in about halfway through, and whether somebody told him or whatever, blah, 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 but he's at the back of the room. And I'm like, what? I'm like, my buddy's here. He's supporting me. What a cool, nice guy. And you can see him because he's tall as a fucking oak tree. He's in the back there. And I attacked him, towards the end again because he chose to say something. And I went back and ha ha hoo hoo. Now, before I tell my part of the story from the crowd, you pick up now. So my presentation's done. You feel that I have attacked you in front of our peers. What was your thought process for the next couple hours, and then I'll pick up where your keynote was going.
I mean, yeah, as you say, right? So part of the confusion was I was actually supporting two friends at once. I don't know if you were aware, but you
Yeah,
were
Denise was
in,
in the other room, and you
yeah.
focused more on Denise and left me to die, because I was in the other room. Yeah.
Well, if you want the truth, actually, I like slept in and forgot both of you were on. Right. So my room was like right on the beachfront, like buddy, I'm 2 miles from the convention room, right? So,
Literally,
uh,
you have to take a bus to get across the road to
yeah,
get to the
yeah,
convention center.
yeah. So like hopped on a golf buggy thing with a staff member, and I was late for both of you. So I thought, right, well, if I stand at the back and just dip in and out, I'm going to catch their eyes and they'll think I've been there and maybe just sat down and moved a bit, right? So Denise and Cynthia were running something on in the main room, and you were in the side room. I don't mean to. I mean that belittles you. It was busy.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know I know
you know
my
what I mean.
place.
Just visualizing it.
Thank you.
And so yes, the problem was I did miss context, right?
Yeah.
I just caught bits and pieces, and as far as I was concerned, I was in there for a few minutes and got attacked, and people were telling me like, "Oh, he's talking shit about you and whatever." And I thought, okay, well, I have the headline keynote tomorrow. So I went back to my room, and there's this wonderful woman I worked with for a long time. Woman sounds weird. I don't know if lady, definitely not a girl. I don't know what she would prefer I say.
Shout out Sarah. Just gonna say she's
Sarah.
wonderful.
Oh, funny
I've
thing
heard.
though, worked with her for so many years. I still don't
Yep.
know how to pronounce her Filipino surname. She never really corrected me. I think it's Nacario. I'm not sure if
Yep.
it's Nasario. Anyway, hi Sarah.
She
And I
doesn't
still work
listen,
with
by the
her.
way.
I no, no, but I still work with her now, by the way. She actually designed this.
Yes,
I've
that's
published two
great.
more books this year. She's designed them along with my personal website and a bunch of
Well,
other stuff.
we'll talk about your two more books. Stay on track here, but I just want to let you know your first two books. I have one on this left leg over here and one on this back right leg, and they're balancing out my desk. So if you want to send those two new ones, I can get this desk actually level this year. So help me out, okay? Thanks. Keep going. So what did you do after? What did you do with pinging Sarah? And don't give the punchline away yet, please.
I won't. So, yeah, putting those insults about my literature aside,
Mhm.
I went back to my room, probably like 5 p.m. by the time I got back. And Sarah didn't come to this event. She stayed back for some reason. I think she had a wedding to go to, whatever. So I was emailing her saying, Mike used my name to make him sound self-popular and
Not the
slagged me
case at
off.
all.
Right. So we need to get him back. We need to do something. Um,
Okay, put a pin in it. So we got to do something about it. Now, remember,
yeah.
I don't know any of this, obviously, because I had told the crowd, I had told everybody, I love Jack. He is like my best friend. He's my partner in crime. We do business together. I love the man. And literally, what I told the crowd, you go back to the recording, wherever it is on Virtual Office, the audio
Yeah, but I
recording
didn't
of
hear
that.
that. Like I didn't see that bit.
No, I know.
So
And so fair, but I said, I love Jack. So, keynote starts up. I'm in the middle of the room with all of our hooligans, Mark Jameson, Denise, Peter, Jason Gervais, everybody. We're all at the same table. And Jackie Boy's up there in his double-breasted powder suit, looking dapper as hell. He's promoting the launch of Utopiads and the rebranding of WSI Paid Search and the new vision at the time of where it was going. Really nice presentation. But what he was talking about, again, the storytelling was around the history. And what he did in the middle of the keynote was he paid credit and respect to certain colleagues that through trial and tribulations, issues, and other things stayed with Jack through the lean years and the challenging times, and there was a lot of humility in that part. That's where I'm going with it, and it was really nice. But so he starts talking about people. He talks about Heidi and he talks about my Peter, and then he's like, and there's this guy, and I'm like, oh no. As soon as he said this guy, I'm like, here he comes after Fat Boy, and I'm like, why? And to my surprise, he was very kind, which is not Jack with me. Like he's going to be like, you're fat and stupid and I hate you, but I love you. And I'm like, okay, buddy. So he's like, Mike is one of the, one of the, top tier operations guys. I trust him and he's really moving the needle at Commandex, whatever else. And I sat there and I'm very uncomfortable with compliments. And I'm like, that was really nice. But in the back of my head and maybe in my backside, I was like, there's a receipt coming somewhere. So he continues on. And this keynote, Jack, remind me, like an hour and a half at least. Like it was pretty
yeah,
extensive.
yeah.
So he's going, and they got Sarah put together this kick-ass video launching Utopiads, and it ends on this just huge note. Like, again, I still remember so much of that keynote, and the crowd literally starts clapping, and Jack's about to come off the stage, and whatever else, and he's walking off, and he's got his microphone lapel on, and he cuts the crowd off, and he goes, "Oh wait, I forgot something." And he clicks to the next slide, and Sarah had taken a picture that Jack or somebody at Utopiads had taken of the buffet restaurant, and they had photoshopped these A-pillar signs all through the picture with a warning, like warning caution of the buffet beast. And there's a picture of me. So since Dominican of 2023, I have been known as the buffet beast. And you can imagine being in a room of, let's say, 150, 200 people, whatever it is. Everybody gets, and look, I was not upset. I was not crying. I was not demoralized. But I put my head down for a minute because everybody's laughing at the joke. And I can take the joke because, I call myself fat more than anybody. But I was like, number one, well played, because I can't do anything about this. Number two, you son of a bitch. And number three, the best part is when I approached him afterwards. when I finally got a hold of him to give him a hug and shake his hand, I'm like, "You son of a bitch!" And he's like, "You attacked me first." And I looked at him, I said, "I told them it was a joke and I loved you." And you just watch Jack's face completely change. He goes, "Oh, I didn't know that." So the lesson out of this humorous story is, yes, I'm a buffet beast. I know how to put a buffet out of business. My waistline and my waistline of elastic stretchy sweatpants proves that. Number two, don't ever go at Jack and allow him to make an assumption, because the receipt will come and he will do it at the grandest stage. Number three, the best part about this too is you can attack me all you want, but at this time, you're as fat as I was. So why the hell are you attacking me?
Absolutely
It is
valid
one of
call
those
out.
stories that I just love because it shows our friendship. And so much so that Wendy Austin out of Connecticut, God love her, I go get Jack's book. I give him a hug. He's got a huge line of people want to come talk to him after the speaking. And she pulls me aside. "Wendy, so nice to see you." And she is like, literally, her eyes are like open like this. And she's got like, she's concerned. And she goes, that was really, really mean what Jack did on stage. Like, are you guys okay? Or are you in like war together or battling or something? And I almost peed myself. I'm like, "Wendy, I love you for coming to my aid, but I'm like, me and Jackie Boy are just stupid. And I just can't believe you got that in, that like head office didn't say, like, take that out of a fucking keynote."
Well, as you could tell from the way it ended, they didn't know, right?
No.
So, but do you remember Mike Monaghan and Cheryl Baldwin were walking on stage to like do whatever they were doing next, right? To tee up the next speaker. And I was like, get off, get off, get off. I've got one more slide.
Yeah, because I think Val's presidential speech was afterwards, and you're just like,
Yeah.
"No, no, hold on."
No,
I'm
they
not
did
kidding.
not
Like,
know
if it
about it.
ever looked like a warning sign of like the most wanted, but like he eats too much, like, I hope you have that photo still, because it was one
It'll
of the
be
funnier
somewhere.
moments of me and you.
I'll tell you what, I'll try and find it so you can post it with this
Yeah,
podcast.
I want to post it
But
on social media
I'm
so
I'm
everybody can take it. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the fake posters in the buffet were in Spanish as well, which made it
Yes.
even better. I
Yeah.
can't remember
It's
what it
like,
said, but it was in Spanish. I'm certain. But hey, listen, this comes back. I think is a nice way to wrap up what we've been talking about is peer support in agency land.
okay.
Because, you know, I was a bit harsh, you know, slight overreaction, we could call it, right? But I also, you know, gave you a shout out, and like if anyone didn't know who Mike Gualtieri was before, they all knew who you were afterwards, rightly or wrongly. No PR is good, bad, you know, no PR is bad PR, whatever they say. But the real thing, like serious thing, is you and I have been in, I would say, level 99 out of 10 stressful meetings and
Yeah.
situations together. Right?
Yeah.
Honestly, we have. Again, we can both
We
probably
have.
think of five in our mind. Like really terrifying, really difficult, struggling.
Yes.
And so going into battle together against whatever it is, we've bonded and we've helped each other through thick and thin. And we have these memories to laugh over. But at the end of the day, obviously, when it's time to be serious, it's serious. But, you know, I'm thinking of a couple that were really tough going into them with you. I felt 3,000 times better because Mikey was in my corner. And if I fumbled, he would pick up. And that to me is one of the most important things in agencyship.
And on closing on that topic, and we're gonna, start to wind down, is I came home from the Dominican and immediately booked multiple therapy sessions and had to assess why I'm the buffet beast. And I'm still trying to figure it out 3 years later. So
You
thanks,
know
Phil.
what? I'll say it worked. Like I fat shamed you in front of several hundred people, but look
Yeah.
at you now. Like you're probably down like
No, I'm
25
I'm
pounds.
I'm heavier than I was then, but thanks. This is
No,
the
no, yeah,
advantage. But this is
you
the
look
advantage of
better.
not seeing you for over a year and a half and having it tits up here, is you don't see what's below. Like, I look
Okay.
pregnant. It's fine.
I thought you were working with a personal trainer and
I am, but it doesn't curb my eating habits. Like I said, once you get the title of the buffet beast, you just look how to put businesses out
okay.
of business.
Well, I was going to credit myself for like triggering the start of your weight loss journey and glow up, but
No. Well, thank you. That's for the next episode. We'll talk about that in depth.
This angry ops guy just needs to unplug.